The holidays come with a touch of craziness, from unwrapping the latest storylines to the best betting insights. We've got everything you need to crank up the excitement this season. We can't promise there won't be a little yelling.
Played a decent schedule. They had maybe 500.
It just ruined my day.
But we can guarantee a whole lot of fun. Merry Christmas from all of us at SportsGrid.
I mean, this is week 16, and you're throwing this guy in the fire. I know the Giants suck, Scotty, but you got that backdrop. Just give it to Bijan 50 times if Penix isn't looking too well.
And I also think Penn State has an easy track. And I think, to be honest with you, Indiana, people are all going to say they should have never been there. And listen, I just wanted to say one last time before that happens that you can all kiss my ass.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
And you're not riding with Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Where have you gone? Don't tell me it's your Philadelphia Eagles, Donnie. Who's the team for you?
You should have Vince Lombardi trophy that sits back here. That's a replica. And that's something that the Philadelphia Eagles have won as recent as 2017. The Buffalo Bills were notorious for making it to the Super Bowl and coming up lame, which they might be able to do. But my question is, can the Buffalo Bills even get to the Super Bowl?
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I'm ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people.
You don't want them to go 13-0 and then lose the first round of the playoffs.
Red.
This is their last shot. They don't really have anywhere else to go yet.
Hot take.
By the time I hit, I guess what, Route 33 up here, that ticket's cashing.
Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome to hour number 2 of a Football Friday live right here on the early line on SportsGrid. And what a Football Friday it is. As we have mentioned, a historic college football Friday with the opening game of the first ever 12-team CFP tonight at Notre Dame Stadium. Perhaps in the snow between the Irish and the Hoosiers. An in-state showdown in that Hoosier state. A triple-header of college football playoff games tomorrow. A double-header of National Football League games as well. Don't forget, the FCS postseason rolls on. And semifinal Saturday at that level of college football. And then, Joe, we go into a full Sunday of Week 16 around the NFL. We continue our preview of every single football game basically you need to know for the entirety of this weekend, live right here on TEL.
And it's going to be a fun one, Ben, like you mentioned it. This weekend, from a football perspective, it doesn't get any better than that mix of urgency with the NFL games as well as the college football playoff games. Sign me up. I am looking very forward to it.
Me as well, my friend, me as well. And that continues into Sunday, where the stakes are certainly high in many, many spots. We've previewed the doubleheader on Saturday. Patrick Mahomes is going to play tomorrow in KC. The Chiefs, a 3.5-point favorite against the Texans inside Arrowhead. Huge game in the AFC North. Should be a classic AFC North rivalry renewed between the Ravens and the Steelers. Baltimore, a 6.5-point home favorite. Another game, Joe, with direct implications on a divisional title race outside the nation's capital in Landover, Northwest Stadium, the site for the Commanders and the Eagles. Matchup number 2 between the two top teams in the NFC East, where if the Eagles can do what the odds expect, and that's win on the road against Washington, the Birds will clinch the NFC East for a second time in the last 3 seasons. 3.5-point spread in favor of Philadelphia. 45.5 is that over-under, Joe, for Sunday afternoon between the Eagles and the Commanders. It's not a large spread, but it is more than a field goal. Should Philly be able to clinch the NFC East division on Sunday afternoon?
Listen, I think what you got in the first matchup is going to be very similar to what you're going to get in this matchup. I think they won by what? More than a touchdown. I think 8 points in that first one there. And it was how they won. They rolled up 434 yards of offense against that Washington defense, right? They also owned, shocker, stop me if you've heard this before, the time of possession in the game. Kingsbury and their rookie quarterback, who's been great, Ben, but he's still a rookie going up against a defense that has gotten better and better under Vic Fangio here. They went 3 of 12 on third down in that game. None of that is going to change here. The fact is, this Eagles team is better than the one that already beat them by 8 the first time they go around here, Ben. I don't see any difference. I think the Eagles roll in this one. I think they lock it up, and I think they, right now, are probably, outside of Buffalo, the most dangerous team in the NFL.
Yeah, they've won 10 consecutive games, Joe. It's a defense that has been elite for the last 2.5 months as well. Philadelphia in this 10-game win streak. 7 covers, 7 unders as well. That first matchup was a short week Thursday night game way back in the middle of November. Philly closed as a 3.5, 4.5 point favorite. They easily covered. Yes, a single possession game, 26-18, the final. Well under a total, by the way, of about 48.5 for a short week Thursday. Again, that Eagles defense on full display. Joe, it wasn't even as close as that final score might indicate, as it was a touchdown pass from Jaden Daniels, the rookie, to Zach Ertz back in Philadelphia in the final minute of regulation. A successful 2-point try made it 26-18. But again, it was mostly 2 possessions for a good majority of that game, despite the fact Washington had a 7-0 lead at the end of the first quarter and a 7-3 lead at the break. A couple of huge Saquon Barkley runs early in the third separated things for Philadelphia. And Joe, when you look at the Commanders, I'm not trying to take a shot necessarily at Washington, but we do this a lot in college football. Who have you beat, huh? Hey, what's the strength of record? What's that strength of schedule? We don't do it in the NFL because things seem to be a little bit more equal, if you will, around the National Football League. Yes, some teams play more difficult schedules than others, but it's not like, hey, prove to me that you're a good team. I will just say this about Washington. When you look up and down the resume, the Commanders are a 9-5 football team. They do not have a single win right now against a team that is above 500. They've got 1 win against a team that is even 500. That was Arizona at the end of the opening month. Again, I'm not trying to knock Washington here, just trying to play this out for the sake of a step-up spot, trying to hold off the Eagles from Philadelphia and the opportunity to clinch the NFC East. It feels like, as the odds makers are telling you, Washington at home is more than a field goal favorite. This game is going to be close. Joe, I would agree. I would kind of lean the Eagles. And if I'm leaning the Eagles, I'm going back to the ground game with Saquon Barkley, and I'm looking at the under of that total at 45 and a hook.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about a Eagles defense also, Ben, that is giving up, 18 or fewer points in 8 of the last 10? It's an average of 15 points a game. So I just don't think Washington is going to be able to keep up. And I think, once again, the rookie Daniels, hey, he's going to go through it here with this defense and Vic Fangio. I would even fade the Washington team total in this one and look to go under in it as well.
So that loss to Philadelphia initially on the short week was the second loss of a 3-game slide for the Commanders, where Jaden Daniels had kind of taken a step back. He has been really good the last 2 weeks against the Titans and, of course, a wild game last week in New Orleans. Completion percentage above 80%. But the Eagles have one of the best secondaries and passing defenses in all of the NFL. Here are the numbers for Philadelphia. Of course, even a 10-game win streak at times has not kept every member of the offense happy, but big weeks last week for A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, and Jalen Hurts throwing for nearly 300 yards with 3 total touchdowns. Not a big week for Saquon Barkley, a big hit in his chase for history, trying to pass Eric Dickerson for the all-time rushing yards record. I don't think he's going to get there, Joe, even if he goes over this number on Sunday, because if he does, Philly clinches the division, and we'll see what Philly still has left outstanding in trying to maybe earn that number 1 seed within the NFC.
Well, listen, I mean, it would be great, but the reality is that's probably a very good thing for Saquon Barkley. He does not need to be the end-all, be-all for this Philly offense. And I think what we finally saw last week was the passing game get back on track here. And if that's the case, then he becomes even more dangerous. So less usage, I think, for Saquon heading into the postseason might not be a bad thing.
26 carries, $146, and 2 scores in the opening game against Washington this year. More on this game on the other side because it is very, very important for that NFC playoff picture. But out in Seattle, the Seahawks, a full field goal underdog against the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikes, 12-2, still in the running for the NFC North, and perhaps thus the number 1 overall seed in the NFC. Minnesota on a 7-game win streak right now. So there are the odds, Joe. We'll get your thoughts on that game out in the Pacific Northwest in just a little bit. Seattle had won 4 straight entering Sunday night against Green Bay. Last weekend, snapped that 4-game win streak. They've been booked as an underdog in 8 consecutive games. They won outright as a dog on that 4-game win streak. We'll update the status of Geno Smith on the other side of the break as well.
And you're not riding with Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Where have you gone? Don't tell me it's the Philadelphia Eagles, Donnie. Who's the team for you?
You see that Vince Lombardi trophy that sits back here? That's a replica. And that's something that the Philadelphia Eagles have won as recent as 2017. The Buffalo Bills are notorious for making it to the Super Bowl and coming up lame, which they might be able to do. But my question is, can the Buffalo Bills even get to the Super Bowl?
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
How do you find some of this great talent that you've brought in, who are still early in their career, might not have a ton of tape on them yet?
I've been around this business, man, for almost 20 years. So a lot of these guys will tell you that I popped into a lot of gyms, sparred or just worked on the side or, kind of worked out, just watching. I've always loved this sport, man. I think it's the greatest. And we want to continue to put on the next up-and-coming superstars. We know we got them.
Only on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I'm just getting out. The hot takes are going to be here all season long, people.
You don't want them to go 13-0 and then lose the first round of the playoffs.
Red.
This is their last shot. They don't really have anywhere else to go yet.
Hot take.
By the time I hit, I guess what, Route 33 up here, that ticket's cashing.
Only on SportsGrid. The holidays come with a touch of craziness, from unwrapping the latest storylines to the best betting insights. We've got everything you need to crank up the excitement this season. We can't promise there won't be a little yelling.
Played a decent schedule. They had maybe 500. There's none of us.
It just ruined my day.
But we can guarantee a whole lot of fun. Merry Christmas from all of us at SportsGrid.
A huge matchup out in Seattle between 2 teams trying to factor into the NFC playoff picture. It's the Seahawks hosting the Vikings on Sunday afternoon. Joe, we showed the line before the break, a 3-point spread in favor of the Vikings on the road in the Northwest, where Geno Smith expected to play. He practiced in full yesterday, despite exiting Sunday Night Football last week against the Packers with a knee injury midway through that third quarter. Total stands at 42.5. The Vikings have won 7 straight. The Seahawks saw their 4-game win streak snap last week and their divisional lead within the NFC West evaporate. What can we expect for Sunday afternoon out in Seattle?
Yeah, well, like we've seen a lot, I think, with Seattle, the inconsistency is just, it's mind-numbing sometimes, Ben, with this team looks completely different one week than they do the next week. Yeah. And coming off of that, what a letdown last week was here. But Geno gets hurt, looks like he's going to go. He's back practicing. Listen, I still think Seattle's got to win by running the ball and playing lockdown defense. I've also seen some regression from Sam Darnold over the last couple of weeks. Again, lesser defenses, and give O'Connell credit. Like, he sees it, and then he goes to Aaron Jones. He gets the running game going. There were a lot of balls over the last 2 games of Sam Darnold, Ben, that were very able to be picked off and turned over. And the coaching staff does a great job because they pull them back. And I think that's exactly what they're going to do here. They're not going to let Sam Darnold lose games for him. I think this is a lot of running like we're usually used to. I think the Seattle defense poised for a bounce back. And I expect this thing to go under the total here. Everyone looks at Minnesota and expects great things. And with good reason, they certainly have the results. But not against this defense in this game on the road outdoors.
Yeah, and Joe, I would agree with the idea of an under. 12-2, the record for the Vikings after another under on Monday night against Chicago, limiting the Bears to only 12 points. Minnesota has gone under in 9 of their 12 victories this year. They have also covered a ton in their 12 victories this season. In fact, as you look at it now, it's 9-2-1 against the spread in their 12 wins. But the Seahawks have been an underdog pretty much for the last 2 months of football. In that 4-game win streak, they won outright as the dog each and every time. Sunday Night Football is a peculiar one at the start. Not perhaps peculiar, but feels a little bit interesting with the magnitude of games that we have. One team firmly in the hunt for a postseason. The other not mathematically eliminated, but it's been a disappointing season, of course, in Dallas, where this game is. And the Cowboys have been atrocious in Dallas. The Buccaneers in the top spot in the NFC South. More than a field goal favorite on the road. Laying 3.5 against the Cowboys. Total stands at 48.5. The Cowboys as a road dog last week in Carolina. Good. Outright victory. Dallas at home. Not so good. What do you expect for Sunday Night Football at the Star?
Yeah, I expect Tampa and Todd Bowles to show up here, and I really do. I think they know the division is in sight postseason here. I think Baker Mayfield has shown this spot is not going to be too big for him. I think they are going to beat this defense of Dallas, which has got a lot of warts still here, Ben. They've played better, no doubt, over the last month. But I think there's levels to this, and I do think the Bucs are more than capable of winning this game going away. I mean, why not? Everyone else seems to have beaten Dallas at home. Why not the Tampa Bay Bucs here, who I think will absolutely come out firing? I like them early in this game too, Ben. I think they lead the league in opening drive touchdowns here when they get the ball. I think they'll do the same against this Dallas defense. Expect them to have the lead at the break as well.
Dallas is both 1-6 straight up and against the spread at home this season. Their only victory and only cover against the Giants on Turkey Day. The Bucs have been a favorite 6 times this year. They are 5-1 straight up. An uncharacteristic loss to Denver as a touchdown favorite back in the opening month of this year. They've also covered in 4 of those 5 victories as the favorite side. I think it's a statement day for Tampa. We'll talk about it a little bit later on Sunday night. The Buccaneers, though, need to keep winning games in the NFC South, because if they were to even drop one and the Falcons win out, Atlanta has that decisive tiebreaker, having swept the Bucs throughout this regular season. But what's going on in Atlanta? Are we trusting in the Falcons? Are we trusting in the rookie quarterback, Michael Penix Jr., who will make his starting debut in the National Football League on Sunday? The Falcons, an 8.5-point home favorite against the 2-win New York Giants. Joe, if you were ever going to insert a rookie into a game to make his first ever start, Week 16, with huge postseason ramifications on the line as well, the team you would want to do it against in the scenario you would want would be as more than a touchdown favorite against the Giants on Sunday afternoon.
I just love how people jumping on this narrative that Kirk Cousins is the problem, and yet nobody is talking about the rookie offensive coordinator, Zach Robinson, that they hired, who can't seem to get a $40 million quarterback who had no problems any place else generating offense with weapons, but somehow Kirk Cousins is the problem. And I think what's going to happen is Atlanta is going to learn rather quickly. It wasn't a quarterback problem. It's an offensive hire problem. It's your offensive coordinator and the stale offense. That's the problem here. I would not be shocked if Atlanta loses outright in this game.
Whoa. The Falcons losing outright to the Giants, the G-men of all teams? Yeah, I'm not so sure. Atlanta has not been great at home this season either. Joe, I think it's an under. I think 42.5 is a little bit too steep because of the offensive woes for this Falcons side. And because the Giants have not presented much, it would not surprise me to see a lot of Bijan Robinson on Sunday and a defense that held the Raiders to only 9 points. More on the Football Friday show next.
I'm actually not even on a side today.
Yeah.
And I'll get to that. Why are you on Texas?
I gave them a chance. Maybe not me as the overwhelming authority in college football, but entering that game on this set to you guys, I said there is one elite defense entering the matchup in Austin back to end out October. It's not the Bulldogs like it used to be. It is Texas.
College football today, only on SportsGrid.
How do you find some of this great talent that you've brought in, who are still early in their career, might not have a ton of tape on them yet?
You know, I've been around this business, man, for almost 20 years. So a lot of these guys will tell you that I popped into a lot of gyms, sparred, or just worked on the side, or, kind of worked out, just watching. I've always loved this sport, man. I think it's the greatest. And we want to continue to put on the next up-and-coming superstars. We know we got them.
Only on SportsGrid.
The NFL and college, they don't operate on the same timelines, right? UNLV's head coach just got, the Purdue job this morning, where I imagine, right, UNC probably needs to know from Bill.
And let's say it's late December, and we see 7, 8 teams open, and none of them want Bill. Then Bill's got to make a decision. Does he want to be a college head coach?
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because it's parody. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Our NFL Week 16 full slate preview that includes both Saturday and Sunday this week for a great football weekend continues live right here on the Early Line. Again, Michael Penix Jr. set to make his first career NFL start on Sunday for the Falcons in the hunt of the NFC South divisional chase. The Buccaneers near a $4 minus money favorite at minus 390. Atlanta and Penix Jr. a plus 320 price. The Falcons would need the same record, if not better, than that of the Buccaneers. But if the Falcons have the same mark, they have the direct head-to-head tiebreaker. That would be it, having swept Tampa this season. But a lot to be determined, and even Joe Ranieri not comfortable with the Falcons laying more than a touchdown, 8.5-point home favorite in the A against the Giants on Sunday afternoon. No props available for that game, oddly, just yet. So the Buffalo Bills, Joe, feeling really good after winning their 8th game in 9 tries against the Detroit Lions with a statement on Sunday in the Motor City. An offense that has scored 30-plus points in 8 consecutive games. And then they, like all of us, watch Patrick Mahomes limp off the field on Sunday in Cleveland. Buffalo's thinking, oh boy, we might have a shot because we have the head-to-head tiebreaker advantage with Kansas City of claiming that number 1 seed if Mahomes is not ready to go for maybe 2 or 3 of these final weeks to end out the regular season. And we're playing the Patriots twice, including on Sunday, as more than a 2-touchdown favorite at home in Western New York. Now, Buffalo's outlook for the 1 seed has taken a hit because Mahomes is going to play on Saturday. But Buffalo still not done in this race just yet. Joe, the question is not can Buffalo win its 9th game in its last 10. It's can the Bills cover as a 2-touchdown favorite at home against the Patriots?
Yes, to keep it real simple here, Ben. I mean, listen, they are outstanding this year. But I think they're 7-3 against the number as a favorite. They've covered those games, Ben, by an average of almost 9 points per game. They have the second best overall cover margin in the NFL. They roll up 30 points, and they have in 8 straight games. And by the way, the New England defense, they're allowing just about 30 points a game over their last 4. It's starting to crumble with New England. They've lost by 21 to the Jets, 20 to Houston, 16 to Jacksonville, 19 to Miami, even 13 to Arizona. That losing by more than 2 touchdowns is not new. We're not asking for something rare to happen here, Ben. It would be all Buffalo in any way I can find them, especially team totals, especially first half, full game. I would absolutely lay it with Buffalo here.
Oddly enough, this game is at 4:25 p.m. Eastern time. Feels right for a 1 p.m. start, despite the fact that Buffalo is one of the best, if not the best teams in the NFL. In fact, the Bills will enter Week 16 as that Super Bowl 59 favorite, and their quarterback, Josh Allen, is nearly 10-1 in minus money to win the NFL MVP award. 46.5 is the total. Might Buffalo take its foot off the gas? I mentioned they've won 8 of their last 9. The Bills have gone over in 7 of those 9. The Patriots over in 5 of their last 7. Because the defense has not been great and because Drake May at times has provided at least a tad of an offensive spark. So let's talk about the team that Buffalo beat on Sunday. That would be the Lions. Detroit, Joe, dealing with so many injuries, catastrophically so defensively. They lose David Montgomery at least for an indefinite amount of time. How will the Lions show some resolve and bounce back on Sunday in Chicago against the Bears?
Oh, I mean, how do you bet the Bears? I mean, as banged up as Detroit is, I don't care how many points you want to give them. Like, how are we expecting this? I mean, the body language over the last couple of weeks tells you everything you need to know. Can't protect your rookie franchise quarterback. You're getting them absolutely killed. You've basically fired everybody. There seems to be no real game plan or offensive continuity whatsoever here. Yeah, no, I'm good. I would only look at Detroit in this one and maybe even go under the Chicago team total because that's how little confidence I have in them.
Yeah, I completely agree, Joe. It's all Detroit for me. We'll talk about our 6-point two-leg teasers later on. I think this is a great spot to do it and take the Lions down to a pick. If you needed a guy to rally the troops, it would be Dan Campbell. He's already done that in the Motor City. Mike Blewitt does that for us next.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The holidays come with a touch of craziness, from unwrapping the latest storylines to the best betting insights. We've got everything you need to crank up the excitement this season. We can't promise there won't be a little yelling.
Played a decent schedule. They had maybe 500. There's none of us.
It just ruined my day.
But we can guarantee a whole lot of fun. Merry Christmas from all of us at SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I'm ready. I'm just getting out. The hot takes are going to be here all people.
You don't want them to go 13-0 and then lose the first round of the playoffs.
Red.
This is their last shot. They don't really have anywhere else to go yet.
Hot take.
By the time I hit, I guess what, Route 33 up here, that ticket's cashing.
Only on SportsGrid.
Live right here on this Football Friday on the Early Line on SportsGrid. It would not be a Football Friday without the services of one Mike Blewitt. Big Blue joins us live right here on this Friday on the Early Line on SportsGrid to round out the final half hour of this second hour with so much football to get to. Blue, we'll start with Thursday night. We'll hit Saturday's doubleheader. We'll talk the important games on a Sunday slate and preview everything around the National Football League with your help on this Football Friday.
Good to be with you. Obviously, we got off to a really good start last night. I found it a pretty fascinating game because I think with those two teams in particular, we're still searching for how good they are, what the flaws may look like. And those teams played a pretty damn good game. Big comeback by the Chargers, obviously. Some spectacular plays all the way around from receivers. I'm still, I think one of the takeaways is that I'm still so impressed with the way that Sean Payton and Bo Nix have worked together in this rookie season, and their future looks good for them with him under center. Not quite as bright as the Justin Herbert trajectory, but nonetheless, the Chargers put themselves in a little bit firmer ground to get that one of those final playoff spots.
It certainly feels, though, Blewitt, right? Like classic overachiever, the Broncos that got a lot of breaks headed their way in 9 wins. There's no guarantee they get to 10 wins. They got Cincinnati and Kansas City left. Am I crazy to think Denver is far from clinching anything here over the next couple of weeks unless they get a ton of help?
Not at all. I think it's very viable that they're still in trouble. That's why it was such a huge game for the Chargers, because they have relative cakewalk coming up with New England and the Raiders. Raiders team, and you mentioned just a few minutes ago, Joe, about New England. It's starting to kind of fall apart. It's fallen apart in Vegas already. So the two teams that may not have a lot of fight left in them. And the Broncos, look, you and I watch the Bengals most weeks on In-Game Live. The Broncos having to face the Bengals is a tough matchup. Joe Burrow threw up 37 points last week, and he was mad about it. So I think that's a real challenge. And then the Chiefs may not have to win that one. That's going to be a huge break for the Broncos if they don't, but it's worth monitoring. And I think you're right. The Broncos can't be they have to go into Cincinnati next week thinking they have to win to stay alive.
Huge, Blewitt. It's a huge matchup next Sunday. Cincy already an early field goal favorite at home. The Bengals have to win out. The Bengals a comfortable favorite, laying 8.5 points this week against the Cleveland Browns, who we'll see who starts at quarterback come Sunday in that one. Of course, if the Bengals beat the Broncos, they would have the direct head-to-head tiebreaker. We'll see what happens with Kansas City by the time they get to Week 18. 2 more wins for the Chiefs. They will clinch the AFC's #1 overall seed. Kansas City in action tomorrow, Blewitt, in a doubleheader on a Saturday in Week 16. But I don't want to talk about Arrowhead. I want to talk about what's happening in the Charm City with your Pittsburgh Steelers. Yeah, there it is. And the Baltimore Ravens for a huge game, Blue, that might dictate the outcome of the AFC North Divisional crown this season. To the Charm City we go, 6.5-point spread in favor of the Flock. Total stands at 44.5 in this rivalry within the division renewed. Blewitt, do either of those two numbers, the spread or the total, or maybe even both, feel like too many points?
Yeah. So it's funny. I kind of laugh whenever these spreads come out now because we get to talk about the Steelers have won 8 of the last 9. All of the games are by 1 score. And the last 8 games are to the under. When they played earlier this year, the total was 48.5. And they didn't even get close. This opened at 46.5. And finally, everyone was like, all right, they're not scoring a lot of points in any of these games. So 44.5 feels about right. I think I still would bet the under on this one. Lamar's been on fire, and I think that's the fear for Steelers fans and anybody that wants to take the Steelers in a game like this, especially since their offense has kind of hit the skids in the last 2 weeks. But 6.5, the Steelers as 6.5-point underdogs. How many times do we have to talk about it? This is Mike Tomlin's sweet spot. They keep these games close, and they're just going to have to find a way to confuse Lamar again and make him uncomfortable like they did a few weeks ago.
It's an interesting battle of quarterbacks, and if it was anybody other than Pittsburgh, I'd be looking to hammer Lamar Jackson all over the place. But you can't do it against this defense. He had his worst game against this defense already this year. Yeah. And Russell Wilson, my concern, Mike, is they're going to make him one-dimensional here without any threat of stretching the field, and that is a disaster between these two quarterbacks.
Agreed. The Ravens' defensive backfield is obviously one of our biggest question marks regarding this team, and their pass defense hasn't been good for the entirety of the year. But the Steelers playing ball control pass offense is not really the way to beat them either. That's why I expect, frankly, a lot of punts in this game. It's why I expect the score to be down. The problem for Lamar against the Steelers generally, and he could explode tomorrow. It wouldn't surprise me that Lamar's an MVP candidate and an MVP player. So it wouldn't ever surprise me if he has a massive game. But the Steelers never let up on pass rush, and I think that is why at times Lamar gets really frustrated. It's just an onslaught every game. It is very rare that the Steelers get diced up in the pass game. Yeah. The Philly did as good a job as you can do against them last week, but they also peppered in an unbelievable rushing attack, especially late in the game. Philly's passing numbers were probably down a little bit because they were able to run the ball so effectively in the fourth quarter. But I do expect a lower scoring game. Ben, I'll take the points here just because of the historic nature of these matchups. I give the Steelers a chance, but in a matchup like this, it's hard for me to not expect them to split the home games in this instance, despite the Steelers' success over the last 5 seasons.
So let's say that is correct, Blue. Maybe this game is more competitive than nearly a touchdown spread, but Baltimore does win outright at home. They would have the same record, both at 10-5. They would split the season series. They would both enter the final 2 weeks with the same division record within the AFC. And yet Pittsburgh would have the slight advantage with the better overall conference record within the AFC. One of the reasons the Steelers are still looked at by the odds makers as the hefty, maybe not hefty, but odds-on favorites to win the AFC North crown at -170. Blewitt, over these final 3 weeks, when all is said and done this regular season in the NFL, who wins the AFC North division, who gets to host a playoff game come January?
It's hard for me to pick against the Steelers, but we talked about this bugaboo in their schedule all season. And now these 3 games were the crux of it. The Philly, Baltimore, Chiefs games within 10 days is as hard a stretch as we've seen, frankly, in the last several years at least. So obviously they're hoping to steal one of these. I'd like them to win tomorrow, but if they can take care of Kansas City on Christmas Day, that'd be okay. I like the Steelers against Cincinnati in a home game in Week 18. Yeah. So it's another divisional win for them. I'll give them the slight edge, but nothing would surprise me at this point.
Yeah, if the Ravens do end up with the same divisional record as the Steelers, that doesn't benefit them there. And right now, both teams are going to play conference foes the remainders of the way. So that really, if Baltimore is a game back right now, they're not really going to have the advantage unless Pittsburgh slips up. And they might. They've got a home game on a short week on a Wednesday against Patrick Mahomes, we expect, and Kansas City. And one of the reasons we expect it, Blue, is because Mahomes is playing tomorrow against the Texans. More from Saturday in a critical weekend in the up-in-the-air NFC West. Next.
How do you find some of this great talent that you've brought in, who are so early in their career, might not have a ton of tape on them yet?
I've been around this business, man, for almost 20 years. So a lot of these guys will tell you that I popped into a lot of gyms, sparred, or just worked on the side, or, kind of worked out, just watching. I've always loved this sport, man. I think it's the greatest. And we want to continue to put on the next up-and-coming superstars. We know we got them.
Only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
I remember one time, I don't know if Kenny will remember this, I said put 100 on, I think I left it on a text, put 100 on this horse that won, and then Kenny called me back later and goes, hey, I never got the text. And
oh,
like,
no.
Oh, yeah. Remember that, Kenny?
I would never stiff anybody. He texted me as they're loading into the gate, maybe, like, it's too late.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
It's a new era in CFB to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of the week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoffs.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards.
That was
again!
But he had that program.
Only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
A Saturday doubleheader in week number 16 of this NFL season is tomorrow. We talked about the game in Baltimore between the Steelers and the Ravens. That's the second of our two, kicking around 4:30 p.m. Eastern time. The first game at 1 p.m. Eastern inside Arrowhead. In Blewitt early in the week, we thought Mahomes, that being Patrick, might not play in this game, might not play next week on a short week on Christmas Day, Wednesday. His status for the remainder of the regular season, uncertain, with a right high ankle sprain. But then the guy was out there at practice in full all week. The odds started to change in yesterday, the confirmation. Patrick Mahomes is going to start tomorrow on a short week Saturday against the Houston Texans in Kansas City. Now a 3.5-point spread in favor of the Chiefs. Total still low at 41 and a hook. How effective, Blewitt, do you think Mahomes will be? How does it affect the game plan for the Chiefs against the Texans?
I don't really think all that much. Full participant yesterday. We've seen a lot of this from him in the past. I don't think it's any type of exaggeration on his part or histrionics on his part, as some people suggest. He took a brutal hit last week. He was lucky to avoid a major injury. I think he knows how to play, even in slightly limited fashion. And shoot, he's won Super Bowls playing in this manner. So I don't really think it impacts him much at all. Any doubt you have about the Chiefs is based on their body of work this year, a season in which they've only lost one game. So I consider this to be a low-scoring affair. Joe and I get to watch a lot of the Texans, and we know their offense just isn't clicking week in, week out, and they're going up against the Chiefs defense, where I feel like this is an ideal scenario for them. At home, short week, Stroud's got to go out there and prove it, and I don't know that he can. So it's a low number, but I could see us getting under that, maybe a 20-17 Chiefs win. That hook, though, scares me. I could see a field goal win for the Chiefs, and the 3.5 is tough. I think a really interesting live betting opportunity. I like the Chiefs to win the game, but if Houston gets up early, you can bet it back the other way.
So, Mike, I got to tell you, before the season, if you'd have told me the NFC West is maybe the most mediocre division in the NFL this year, where we're entering Week 16 and still anybody can win the damn division, is kind of absolutely mind-blowing to me. But you got to win. If you're going to win this division, Rams, you can't go to MetLife and lose. You just can't lose to the dysfunctional New York Jets. But the Jets feel live to me with the way Aaron Rodgers has been playing here. Do they not?
Absolutely. Aaron Rodgers game log. Look, they've lost these games, the Jets, in spectacular fashion. The Seahawks game, they're about to go up more than 3 scores, and he threw a pick six. His only interception in the last 8 games, I believe it is. Yeah, that's right. In the last 7 games, he's thrown 1 interception, that pick six to Leonard Williams, which really led to a huge comeback. You know, they lost to the Colts by a point, the Miami game, all of these games they've lost in spectacular fashion, but the offense has been playing better, particularly Rodgers. They've been an odd team, Joe, for a variety of different reasons, not the least of which is there were high expectations on the Jets list this year, and they're 4-10. But we kept seeing them installed as favorites or short underdogs like they are this week, even as they piled up losses. And I think it's because there's still a lot of respect for Rodgers and the offense, and people are ready to push Aaron Rodgers out of the NFL. I understand that, but you cannot deny that his play has been really good over the last 2 months. But I'm with you on the Rams. The Rams are another team. I do not think people have talked about the Rams enough in the same way that they haven't talked about the Vikings enough. The Rams have won 7 of their last 9 games. They're on fire. They murdered the Bills defense in a game that a very high-profile game. It was a tough spot for the Bills. They gave up 44 points. So with Nakua and Kupp is throwing up zeros, and it doesn't even matter because Nakua has been great. Kyron Williams, fantastic. I really think that this Rams team has not been talked about enough. I have to go with a massive coaching edge here with Sean McVay going in. I think he has them ready to play. And to Joe's point that he made earlier, I think it's a very high-scoring affair.
7 of the last 9 for the Rams, a victory. In 6 of those 7 wins, they have covered their most recent 6 wins as well. The Jets as a dog this year, just 1-3 straight up, 0-4 outright. Their only cover as a dog was the overtime game against the Dolphins a few Sundays ago. But the Jets have gone over in 7 of their last 9. Perhaps that total of 46.5 could be in danger. Big one, Blewitt, for the 49ers. Not mathematically eliminated from the NFC West race, but not in a great spot. They're just 1-4 in the division as well. Isaac Guerendo not going to play on Sunday for the 49ers. The Dolphins not out of the AFC wildcard chase either, but this is an absolute must-win for both teams. It is a pick'em who gets the job done on Sunday in South Florida.
It's tough with the spread, but I just love the over in this one. You made the point about Guerendo. I think this will be teams throwing all day long, ball control, passing style offense in offenses that are very similar to one another. So I expect a lot of points to be scored. I think you can play a wide variety of player props in this one. Tyreek Hill would be near the top of that list as Jalen Waddle's health is uncertain, likely to play, but uncertain as he got banged up last week and had to leave the game. So give me the over here. I might be crazy that I'm leaning towards the Dolphins, but I think if you force me to pick a team, I think I'd pick the Dolphins here with the home field advantage, and the Niners really going through a difficult time as I think they've fallen out of the playoffs. I know they're not officially eliminated, but I don't see the Niners making a massive comeback here.
It is really fascinating, again, to look at these two teams and where they stand right now. Their season for San Francisco defined by injuries, and thus they are a slight, ever so slight underdog in Miami. The Dolphins, though, as a favorite with Mike McDaniel, 22-7 straight up. It's all they need to do on Sunday. More on this Football Friday next.
I'm actually not even on a side today.
Yeah.
And I'll get to that. Why are you on Texas?
I gave them a chance. Maybe not me as the overwhelming authority in college football, but entering that game on this set to you guys, I said there is one elite defense entering the matchup in Austin back to end out October. It's not the Bulldogs like it used to be. It is Texas.
College football today, only on SportsGrid.
How do you find some of this great talent that you've brought in, who are so early in their career, might not have a ton of tape on them yet?
Yeah, I've been around this business, man, for almost 20 years. So a lot of these guys will tell you that I popped into a lot of gyms, sparred, or just worked on the side, or kind of worked out, just watching. I've always loved this sport, man. I think it's the greatest, and we want to continue to put on the next up-and-coming superstars. We know we got them.
Only on SportsGrid.
The NFL and college, they don't operate on the same timelines, right? UNLV's head coach just got, the Purdue job this morning, where I imagine, right, UNC probably needs to know from Bill.
And let's say it's late December, and we see 7, 8 teams open, and none of them want Bill. Then Bill's got to make a decision. Does he want to be a college head coach?
Pro football today, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Live right here on the early line on Sports Grid. It is a Football Friday. Our charge every week is to preview every single game for an NFL weekend. That can include a Sunday slate or now a Saturday as well. So we round out our 4 games remaining for Week 16 and this weekend with Mike Blewitt here on a Football Friday. Rapid fire, we go to Carolina. The Panthers last week, for the first time since the final month of the 2022 NFL season, were expected to win a game, booked as a favorite. They lost by nearly 20 points. In fact, maybe even more than 20. They are back as an underdog Blue this week, hosting the Arizona Cardinals, who still have life in that NFC West divisional race we talked about in our most recent segment. 4.5-point spread in favor of Arizona. Supposed to be chilly in Charlotte. A lot of conversation around that with Kyler Murray this week. What do you expect in the actual game, Blewitt, on Sunday in Charlotte?
Yeah, it's funny that there was a lot of momentum around the Panthers last week, and then for them to get smashed in the way that they did, turnovers by Bryce, and it was just a really ugly game all around. The 4.5 just doesn't seem like the Cardinals should necessarily be installed as that big a favorite on the road, but I don't know that Carolina can get the stops in this game, so I'm going to go with the Arizona team total over 26.5. I think they can score a bunch of points. I don't know that Carolina can match them there, but that's my favorite angle. If I would lay the points here, but I'd prefer to take the Cardinals team total over.
Yeah, kind of hard not to agree with you there, Blewitt, given the fact that they came crashing back down to earth, that being Carolina last week here. But talking about a interesting matchup, and you mentioned it earlier, Joe Burrow seems to be pissed if his team isn't scoring 40 points a game. And he'll have an opportunity to do that again this week against the Browns, who are going with, am I getting this correct? DTR, is that it here, Blewitt? I mean, is this as easy as it gets or what?
Yeah. I'm all over the Bengals team total again, like I was last week. Yep. Their team total first half, and the Bengals are very good in the first half of games. They're a top 10 scoring team. In their last 3, they're averaging over 20 points a game in the first half, and I think they match that. I think it's sitting at 13.5 right now, so go out and grab it before it gets over 14. So Bengals team total first half. You can find it on most books. That's where I'm going because the Bengals get off to good starts. We got lucky last week, by the way, in In-Game Live. The Titans took a lead because of an early Joe Burrow interception, and the Bengals were the underdogs early live in that game. If you want to wait around to get a better number than 8.5, you can hope the Browns will score. Frankly, I don't know that you're going to get a better number. I think the Bengals blitz them from the start.
When you look at Cincy this year at home, not overly impressive. They are just 1-5 against the spread, but over in 10 of 14 games, including 6 of their last 7. The Bengals have scored 37-plus points in 4 of their last 6. Let's go to Indianapolis. The Colts still have some hope left of making it to the postseason, but they have to win out. That includes against a divisional foe on Sunday, Blewitt, as more than a field goal favorite, taking on the Tennessee Titans. 42.5 is the total. What do you expect in this matchup?
So gross, this game. Really, genuinely a gross game. The Titans play the worst brand of football in the NFL. Seriously. Every week we watch them. They commit double-digit penalties. They are terrible at times defensively, and that was like their calling card was defense. They got murdered by the Bengals offense, and a Bengals offense that also committed double-digit penalties, and we had 10 turnovers in that game. Mason Rudolph will probably turn the ball over a little bit less than Will Levis, but I expect the Colts here. I just can't lay any money on the Titans.
The Titans, a 3-11 football team who have not covered in any of their 11 losses so far this season. You thought that game was bad. How about this one? The Raiders at home in Vegas taking on the Jags. Who in their right mind made Las Vegas a favorite? Blue, we backing the Raiders on Sunday because of it?
We are betting yes on an interception for both quarterbacks. That's what we're backing here.
Woo! Now that's a play. That's how you take bad football and make it profitable. Mike Blewitt, we appreciate the time as always. You'll see Joe. We'll see you on Sunday, NFL football in-game live here on SportsGrid. Blue, have a great weekend. Until then, hour number 3 of our Football Friday is up next.